I'm sorry. Okay? I'm sorry. 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 I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, okay?
Hey, you. Welcome back to I'm Sorry, Okay, a podcast where we are watching so much Degrassi. I'm Mary, here with Paul and LD. This week we watched Season 2, Episode 9 of Degrassi Junior High, Dog Days. This episode was written by Jan Moore, directed by Kit Hood, and originally aired on February 29th, 1988. In this episode, Stephanie goes into a deep depression, and Arthur considers running away when their mother announces plans to remarry. Content warning for this episode, we will be discussing suicidal ideation and suicidal thoughts. All right, so we open on a bridge shot from below in a dream sequence. Stephanie is on the bridge looking down at the water and tosses a stick as her alarm goes off and she wakes up in bed.
Love the little white vignetting that they do for the dream sequence. Just a little touch. They're always like trying to do something extra with their dream sequences. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate that they immediately are like, this is a dream. Don't worry.
Yes.
Yeah.
They do. They always make it very obvious that it's a dream sequence. Because I do think other shows, they'll like kind of trick you and you'll like think something important is happening. And then they're like, gotcha, it's just a dream. But yeah,
it's
they're
always
always
like shot, like the
set
way
the
that
mood
they
or the
like.
feeling, yeah.
Yeah. It's cool. Good
Yeah.
for them.
Great job. She hears her mom talking to Arthur on the phone, asking him to come over after school because she needs to talk to him. Her mom comes upstairs to tell her about dinner plans and is disappointed that she's not ready for school. Steph says she doesn't feel good, but she doesn't feel sick to Mama Kay, so she's not staying home.
Mama Kay, who is either a pharmacist or at the very least works at a pharmacy,
Oh, yeah.
has some basic knowledge of like the human body. Sees, first of all, zero warning signs in her very lethargic daughter, who just like a few months ago was going to school dances, running for president, like, you know, like
Yes,
doing
extremely
stuff.
active.
And she's like, oh, you don't have a fever, so you're fine.
And she doesn't even say that she doesn't physically feel good. Like I don't feel good can mean more than one thing. And it seems like she just kind of doesn't feel good. Sometimes depression has physical symptoms. So it's not like she is trying to like fake sick to get out of like a presentation or something. She's actually kind of trying to talk to her mom here, I think. And her mom's just sort of dismissing her because it's the morning. We've got things to do. We got to get out. Like
Clueless at best, but doesn't feel like dealing with it at worst.
And it just seems like, isn't there a pamphlet for this? Come on.
Just give Stephanie a pamphlet and move on. It'll be
or
fine.
read one yourself.
Yeah, I was
No,
gonna say,
there's no
like
time.
LD was saying, it's like these are the basic like symptoms or signs of depression. Even one of the twins like points that out later in the episode.
like someone needs to give Mama Kay a pamphlet.
Yeah. Oh, I also did want to say Steph's room actually felt way more relatable as a teenager's room than the twins because she has like magazine photos on her walls instead of like family portraits.
Yeah, I felt that.
And it was like a little messy. It was like, yes, I was like, I recognize this teenage bedroom. So Arthur finds Steph before school and asks why their mom wants him to come over for dinner, but she tells him to buzz off.
Wait, hold
Arthur
on. Before we come to this, Mama Kay leaves Stephanie's room and Stephanie's like, I wish I was dead.
Oh, that is totally true, and I forgot to add that in. This is the first of many times that she will kind of repeat this throughout the episode. So then she's talking with Arthur before school. She tells him to buzz off, but then Arthur opens his gym bag to reveal a puppy.
Oh,
It's pretty cute.
He's a little scrappy guy.
Yeah.
cute puppy, great name, Phil. Amazing
Yes.
name for a dog. Love like a dog with a person name.
Like an
Absolutely.
uncle name. Yeah.
Yeah, Phil, really good.
He
Also,
looks like a Phil.
Arthur is so innocent here. He's like, I thought you were gonna be nice to me. Like, he's really upset that she's just kind of like, well, I changed my mind.
Buzz off, Arthur. I thought you said you were going to be nice to me.
Well, I changed my mind.
I know.
Like, she is right back, but you can kind of feel that it's different this time.
Yes, before it was like she didn't want like her association with Arthur to affect her image at school.
It's more
But
like
now
superficial.
It was, yeah, exactly. But now it's more like she just can't even manage her own like feelings and situation right now. So she has like no space for Arthur.
Yeah.
So she tells Arthur that he's going to get in trouble for having a dog at school, but he is not too worried because he's kind of just like, but it's a puppy. Everyone loves puppies. And then she tells him to at least leave the zipper open a little so Phil can breathe, which I was also like, dogs do not belong zipped up into bags. Like, I don't know how much to get into Arthur's actual treatment of this dog throughout this episode, but it's not great.
It's not amazing. You can tell, and I feel like I have more to say about this kind of maybe later on in the episode, but he's really grasping at someone
Yes.
to kind of bond with and that he can love and that will love him back.
Yeah. He's doing as good of a job as like a 12-year-old would probably do in an attempt to take care of a dog. And surprise, surprise, there are no adults present as usual. So that's the real problem.
Right.
I would argue in this episode, and I think they address it towards the end, but I would actually say that Arthur is just as much in crisis as Stephanie is. I think Stephanie.
Oh yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, Stephanie is really showing it outwardly, and I think Arthur is finding different ways of dealing with how he's feeling about this custody issue and just kind of all of the changes that are happening.
It's really consuming everybody's life. But yeah.
Well, but luckily concealing something is part of Arthur's skill set, so no problems.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't just hold the dog behind his back.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. No notes here. He's doing an A+ job once again.
Before the scene ends, Arthur also does a puppy reveal for Yick. All right, so then before Radich's class, Simon and Alexa are all cuddled up in the doorway so that Steph has to walk past them to get to her desk.
It was an adorable.
Yeah.
I know, they look really cute.
Good for them.
Right?
Yeah, Steph is definitely
not doing
feeling
anything wrong. It's just that kind of like, seeing someone you like with someone else.
We've all been there.
Yeah. The twins come over and ask about a movie that Steph was supposed to see, but she tells them that her mom went out with Jerry instead. She also tells them that her mom never talks to her anymore, and on top of that, her dad is trying to get custody of her. Her dad, who she doesn't even get along with, is trying to get custody of her.
She like lays it all out here. I think all of these points are valid, and so like it's good that they really just summarize all of the like real shit that's like kind of going on in the background so that we can enjoy the zany Degrassi hijinks that are to come.
I mean, on their own, each one of these things would be a reason to be depressed or upset, especially at this age. Like, so
Totally.
I was this age when my parents were getting divorced and like having a whole custody thing. And it's like, it's one of those things that like your friends whose parents are still together are not going to get. It's something like you kind of don't want to talk to your teachers about it because like, why would you? Like, it's just kind of a thing that's happening and you don't always realize like how much it's actually kind of affecting just like your general well-being. But then also on top of that, like her mom ditching her to go hang out with her boyfriend really sucks. Like, and obviously, again, I've said this like several times that we'll get into it later, but like, you know, this is one of those things where I'm like, Mama K keeps hammering home that like their dad has a less stable household, but like all we see in this episode is the fact that her house is like negligent and chaotic.
Plus, there's like a dripping sink the whole time, which I feel like is a low key, just sort of like,
Oh, I didn't even
notice.
notice that. Tell
Every
us
time-
more.
Every time they're in the kitchen, there's just a little drip sound effect, maybe like twice or 3 times.
Oh, because there's no man in the house to fix it.
Well, that's not where I was going, but sure, if that's where your brain's at. No, to me, it just feels like that's like kind of an auditory cue of like things aren't good, like in TV at least.
Wow.
They aren't tending to the house.
Right,
Like,
little
they're not taking
issues,
care.
details are being missed, that sort of thing.
That are going to become a bigger issue.
I was
Everything
also
go.
sorry. I was also just like, why does she keep? I mean, she's just like mad at this, like at their dad, so she keeps talking shit. But yeah, it's like, lady, back off.
I think that, like, now there's more sort of just in general, there's more like therapy kind of speak out into the world. And I think that people have a better sense of like co-parenting and that you shouldn't disparage the other parent to your children. But like in the 80s, I think this is when there was like a big like uptick in divorce. And I think we see a really good example of someone just not handling it well at all. And like she's really centering herself and like her own feelings, not her kids' feelings. And on top of that, she's putting down their dad. So it's just completely like breaking apart their whole entire family structure and then trying to force a new one, which is just like, of course your kids are going to have a negative reaction to that.
And then, Stephanie says like, she should kill herself while she's telling the twins about this. And then, Heather is just kind of like, oh, don't joke about that. And so this is the second time she's mentioned it. The first time she's mentioned it to another person and she's immediately dismissed and it's treated as a joke.
Right. Like the only feedback she gets is that you're not supposed to say something like that because it's serious.
Yeah.
But I think she is serious. And it is kind of interesting. Yeah, she says it out loud to herself and now she's kind of trying it, like saying it out loud to her friends. And we'll kind of see she never really gets a good reaction. No one ever says to her, tell me more, or like, do you need to talk about this or anything like that. She gets shut down every time. So yeah, this is like the first time that she gets shut down for expressing those kinds of feelings.
Yeah.
Except for Radich.
Yeah, I was about to say, but then I was like, oh, we're getting there.
Yeah, so Radich, so class starts and Radich begins teaching, but Steph is
Hold
staring.
on, we also get the most dismissive Joey hat flip to date from Radich. But it's got to be because the school year is about to wrap up and he's like really feeling it.
It's just like muscle memory at this point. He just walks in, removes the hat, and then starts teaching.
I wrote in my notes, Radich takes Joey's hat off and tosses it like it's garbage, which in his defense, it kind of is. What the fuck is that hat?
Is it like a leather fedora?
It's like
I thought it was a leather newsboy like cap.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh God, it's really bad.
Not
Please
his best
send
look.
help.
I actually like Joey's fedora, like personally. I support it, but I don't like this look.
I'm devastated that the
Milady.
fedora became like a symbol of just a dirtbag incel because like I look amazing in a fedora.
Yeah, there's nothing inherently wrong with a fedora, but it's been tainted.
I want to bring it back. I want to reclaim the fedora.
Okay. Oh yeah. So Radich begins teaching, but Steph is staring out the window, daydreaming about the bridge from her dream. This scene also features my look of the week.
Oh,
Whoa.
It's early.
Yeah.
It's actually the double sweater looks of Lucy and Liz sitting in the front row of Radich's class. So Lucy's wearing an oversized blue and gray striped sweater with a matching blue headband, and Liz is wearing an oversized green striped sweater with print details.
Nice.
Oh yeah, Lucy's is
Amazing.
amazing. She's got that matching headband.
Yeah, I would wear either of these sweaters. But yeah, Lucy's is definitely like doing a little more with the color. Next, Arthur has brought Phil in the bag to Miss Avery's class with his little snout sticking out of the zipper.
Buddy.
Miss Avery is talking about their final exam when Phil starts to whine because he is a dog in a gym bag.
Like, has Arthur considered that this dog is going to have to take a shit at some point?
Seriously, what? And apparently this dog is leaky.
Yeah,
I
took
don't want to
note.
know what that means.
I mean, that was just their euphemism for peeing, but I'm just like, what
Yeah.
a weird
That's
choice.
so weird.
It's
I don't
very
approve.
strange. No, it's not good. Arthur pretends to cough to cover up the whining. But then Phil barks, and Arthur pretends to cough more, but the ruse is up, and Miss Avery asks him to open up his bag. She ends up opening it herself, and Phil's little head pops out, and they both get sent to the principal's office.
Aww.
He held it together about as well as we would all suspect.
Yeah. And somebody says, "Hey, look at that cute little puppy."
I love facts.
Yeah, I love all the bystander reactions to Phil. There's just like people, especially girls, are constantly just like, "Oh, it's so cute."
Look, if
It's
there's
so
a dog
real.
at school, like, hell yeah. All
Right?
rules
A
are off.
dog at
Yeah.
school.
Oh
Yes.
my
That's
god,
like-
imagine.
Oh, that would be some good-natured shenanigans. So then we kind of cut to the principal's office, and from behind his office door, the principal threatens that if he sees Phil around again, Arthur is going to regret it.
kinda
And
weird.
Arthur, kind of weird. And then Arthur assures him that things are crystal clear. Although, are they? They are not.
They don't seem to be.
I mean, they're clear, but that doesn't mean he's going to follow this rule.
Yeah, it's the kind of rule that just, like you don't really believe in, so why would you follow it?
I also don't believe in not having cute dogs in places that are boring.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Totally. Doris is told that she's babysitting Phil until school's over, and she does not look into it. I think she maybe had some other
Uh,
plans for her day.
Okay, well,
Fair.
can't relate because if I were her, I'd have a fucking puppy to hang out with at work.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to clear your schedule and babysit this puppy today.
That's sick.
I would
What's the
also, yeah,
problem?
that does sound great. Yeah, Doris looks like really bewildered by the dog that's like honestly pretty well behaved.
I
Other
would
than
be
the
annoyed.
leaking situation.
I support a dog being at school or, say, a place of work, but if the dog then becomes my responsibility at school or a place of work, no.
Okay, first of
no.
all, adorable. Second of all, gives you an excuse to get fresh air because you have to take it out.
And it did seem like it was a beautiful day.
Yeah, dude, you need to reconsider this.
Maybe.
So back in Radich's class, Radich is talking about T.S. Eliot, while Steph continues to stare off. When class ends, he asks her to stay behind. Radich tries to have a heart-to-heart and tells her that her attitude seems to have changed, she's lost interest in things, and asks if something is bothering her. He asks if it's about the subject matter, being school president, or if something is wrong at home, and that's
Ding,
when
ding,
she...
ding.
Ding, ding, ding. That's when she finally answers, but she says no and that everything's fine. Radich tells her she can go, but if she needs to talk to someone, she can talk to him or the guidance counselor or anyone at school.
The most solid effort from Radich yet.
Right? This is the most invested and most concerned that he's ever been about a student's well-being. But he's also,
Yeah.
he's kind of in a bind because, like, he can't force her to talk or, like, tell him
Mhm.
anything. And if she insists that everything's fine, he can't really, like, push her further on it.
You even said
Right.
earlier, I forget what specifically you were saying, but you were just like, I didn't want to talk to any teacher or something.
Right.
where,
Hell
yeah,
no,
it's
I'm not
just
gonna
like-
I'm not gonna talk to my teacher who's usually kind of a dick and be like, my parents are getting
Yeah.
divorced. Because that's the other thing is like
Yeah.
tons of kids' parents get divorced. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. Like also I think that like people have a certain idea of why you're upset that your parents are being divorced. Like for me, my parents were getting divorced and I was thrilled about the development because they hated each other. And so it like wasn't nice for them to be together. I didn't want them to stay together. And so when I was upset that my dad had, left my mom for a gold digging woman named Priscilla. And like my mom was like really upset about it. And the idea that all these adults around me had was like, oh, she wants her dad back, and I'm like, no, he sucks. I don't want that. You know what I mean? Or people are like, oh, she just wants her parents to get back together. And I'm like, listen, if you knew my parents, you also wouldn't want this. But like that was the kind of narrative that people had built. And that's the only narrative that really like any adult around kids whose parents are getting divorced can understand, is like, oh, they're upset because of the idea of the family unit that they want back.
People
not
expect
ever
that.
Yeah, and it's like they never understand, like, maybe you're actually upset because the adults in your life are failing you. Like they're not doing their due diligence and like caring for the most vulnerable in the situation, which is children.
I don't want to go off on a tangent, but like I remember being a kid and seeing Mrs. Doubtfire, and like the resolution of that movie where they don't get back together, to me was a major like perspective to see depicted, because that was never like what like fucking Christian like oriented media wants you to like see, like family unit like poisoning bullshit. But like, yeah, the like honest message of like sometimes people just aren't good together and they can be better for their children separate and like working as just a team rather than like forced into some marital servitude.
And not every kid thinks that their parents should be together. Not every parent,
right?
Not every set of parents should be together. And I think that this kind of shows that, you know what I mean? Like Steph isn't upset because her parents are broken up. She's upset because they're using their children as bargaining chips and afterthoughts.
And because they're both still trying to adjust to the fact that their parents now live separately. They're going between their houses. And then her mom is introducing another huge like change in the dynamic, and they haven't even adjusted to the divorce yet. So it's just like one more thing to deal with, like on top of that.
I'm sure there's a pamphlet on it somewhere.
Yeah, well, I don't know how good the advice would be at this time. Because you're right. I think there was a focus on, your family of origin. That's the family. It's ideal for them to be back together. But yeah, like, no, sometimes co-parenting separately is the ideal situation.
And I think also the way that they kind of dealt with Steph being upset about Jerry, and I feel like we can get more into this later on, but it didn't feel to me that she was upset just at Jerry's presence. It was clearly she's upset because her mom has like abdicated all of her parental responsibilities and is putting this man who she's known for 2 months before her children and making decisions without her children. But I think that the reaction from Mama Kay is very typical of like parents just assuming like, oh, you don't like my new partner. So
and she sort of says like, oh, Jerry's a phony, like whatever, he's maybe like trying a little hard. But it's not, you're right, it's not really about Jerry. She's talking about the fact that her mom is ditching her to spend time with her boyfriend and that her mom never talks to her anymore. Like, what teenager wants their mom to talk to her? Like, that must be a really painful situation for Steph, that she literally feels like she's losing her mom's, like, this relationship with her mom. Like, that's what's being lost. It's not like, it's not about Jerry specifically as a person. It's about the loss of like another relationship in her life.
Man.
And going back to this interaction between Steph and Radich, and Radich is the only person who really like who sees Steph struggling and goes out of his way to like try to help her.
Sweet,
and he
merciful Christ.
He really,
Radich is the only person looking out for you.
You are really in trouble, girl.
That's bad.
But no sad teen girl wants to talk to like their male teacher about their
fucking
feelings.
Mustache over here.
I basically had this interaction with a science teacher when I was in high school. I don't remember what I was upset about, but I was like just really like totally not paying attention in class. I was like writing out like lyrics like in my notebook, just like really fucking like in my own shit. And and my science teacher like walked past my desk and was like, "Are you okay?" And it totally caught me off guard. And I was like, yeah. And that was the extent of it. He didn't like follow up with me or anything. But it was something that I always remembered, that somebody in my life actually saw me struggling with depression, with showing signs of depression, and like asked. And it's funny that it was also like some kind of like nerdy like dude teacher that I wouldn't have expected it from. I didn't have like a particular like relationship with him or whatever, but it just like Radich really reminded me of like that moment in my own life where it's like people see you and like there are people who care about you, and it might not be the person that you expect.
Yeah, it might not be the one who's closest to you or who's supposed to be caring for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a good Radich moment. It doesn't really go anywhere, but he's at least letting her know. And I also like that he says, or you can talk to the guidance counselor, or you can talk to like any of, you know, the adults at school. He gets that. He's like, you might not want to talk to me, like, but there are other people here for you.
A self-aware moment from Radich.
Yeah.
Good job. Let's
Yeah,
see more
Radich.
of that, Mr. Radich.
We
Yeah, let's
salute
see.
you, Radich.
Okay. So the twins are waiting for Steph after class, and they invite her to hang out with some really cute guys they met and tell her maybe they have a cute friend. But she says she would probably just be in the way and that her relationships never work out anyway. So Steph has lost interest in cute boys. This is a dire development.
I mean, who would want to tag along on that plan?
It is like tagging along on a double date. It's not the best plan, but I kind of get they're just sort of like, want to hang out with boys?
Sure.
They're really grasping at straws here. They're like, what will she enjoy? They're like,
yes, yeah.
And they say that, like, you know, have you seen how she's dressing? Like they've noticed that she's wearing her decoy clothes full time, and that's like a cry for help.
Not even just her decoy clothes, but like her decoy clothes in like like neutrals, like just muted colors. Like
I would actually like to say, as a side note, Stephanie looks gorgeous through this whole episode. Like
her hair looks incredible. It's
like,
so much better.
She doesn't have all of the kind of like bright blue, very 80s, didn't flatter anybody makeup.
Yeah.
And then her clothes are very neutral. I mean, you know, she looks good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like depression suits you, babe.
Whatever you're doing, keep it up.
Depression looks great on her. Yeah, so the twins are worried about her.
A twin is worried about her.
A twin, yes.
Yeah.
Who I believe is Heather.
Yeah, Heather's worried. I figured it out. I like really figured it out in this episode, and it's the only time I think I'll know. But like I feel like their hair is super different in this episode.
Yeah, Heather's is a lot longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're really bad at this. We're doing an entire podcast about this show, and we're like, which one is she?
I thought that we would know after that twin episode, but then as soon as we got to this, I was like, I think I know.
I mean, Erica in this is it's funny because obviously they kind of always show the twins as like the devil and the angel on someone's shoulders.
Yeah.
And I don't buy that Erica, who was super supportive of Spike going through a crisis, would then just think that Steph is just being like this for attention and
it's
to be
just
dramatic.
being dramatic. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't track for me. Like I know that they wanted to kind of show the different ways that people might respond to someone talking about harming themselves or being depressed.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just kind of like, wouldn't it have been nice if her friends gave a shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is when Heather brings up the fact that, you know, talking about it is a danger sign. But yeah, Erica is just really dismissive, and they don't. And okay, so even with like inviting her to hang out with these boys, it's like, why couldn't they have just been like, hey, do you want to hang out? Is there something you would like to do? Like, no one is really taking the time to be like, what would be helpful to you? They're just sort of throwing things out there. But yeah. Oh, and I wanted to point out that we see Shane and Spike hanging out in the background. So I wonder if something will be happening with them soon.
I saw that.
They seemed conveniently placed right there. Like, hey, remember these two?
We haven't forgotten.
Yes, we have not forgotten that there's a little baby brewing in there. After school, Arthur and Yick finally let Phil out of the gym bag, and Arthur ties a rope around him as a leash. Yick asks what he's going to do with Phil, and Arthur says maybe he can stay at his mom's. They take Phil for a walk to the park, and every single girl they pass comments on how cute he is.
Yeah, I loved Michelle reacts really well to this. She looks adorable and she looks so delighted. Yick here is wearing my look of the week.
Oh,
thank you. He's got this kind of like dusty teal sort of polo shirt, which like last season, all of Yick's shirts look like they were owned by a man who wears a 3XL and dropped them on him. But this season, he seems to fit into his clothes, which I really appreciate.
He's grown into the look.
He's got these dark gray cuffed jeans and he's got some low top black Converse. And I just think he looks sick. I would wear this outfit. And I think I am wearing those jeans right now. So
you're halfway there. So Arthur, Yick, and Phil discuss their feelings at the park. But Arthur is not too upset about his parents being divorced and having joint custody. He likes living with his dad, or so he says. But his dad is still trying to get full custody and his parents are fighting and it all makes him nervous. So I think Arthur is more accepting of where they are in the situation. And so this, like, just the fact that his dad's trying to change the situation is stressing him out at this point.
I think that Steph is similar. I don't think that she's upset that her parents are divorced either. I think they're both kind of like okay with that part. I think they're both just upset that things are changing. No one's asking them what they want. They're being put in the middle of this. Yeah, like
yeah.
And the one other thing I wanted to note was just that he mentions that he likes living with his dad and that he takes him to ball games because that will come up later. So that's a thing that he and his dad do together. And also, Yick is a good friend. I don't think he always asks the right questions, but he knows, like, he keeps bringing this topic up because he knows that it's what Arthur is thinking about. And he's saying, like, I would be really upset if my parents were divorced. Like, he's really trying to, like, understand what this is like for Arthur. And it's nice to see that at least Arthur has a friend that he can, like, confide in, like, right now. Because Steph doesn't seem to feel like she can do that in the same way.
I also really like that it's two young boys who are talking about their feelings and it's not being, I don't know, joked about or anything like that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like natural.
Yeah, I really like that they're showing that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so at the K household, Steph's mom is putting flowers in a vase, and Steph compliments them before getting annoyed that they're from Jerry.
Frickin' Jerry.
That heckin' Jerry. Get those flowers out of here. Arthur... Arthur shows up with Phil, and their mom is into him at first until she gets close enough to smell him and then banishes him to the yard.
All right, I've got a lot of things to say here. I've got opinions just up the wazoo. Cleaning a dog is not hard. Sometimes dogs smell. That's like what they do.
I'm sure they've got a bathtub.
Yep, they've got a bathtub. This is a small dog. He is a puppy. They could probably even put him in the sink. It would be fine.
That sounds adorable.
Right? A little puppy in a sink with some little suds on him.
Oh, the leaky dog in the leaky sink.
Yeah, it's fine. People who don't let dogs come in their house are sociopaths, and people who like lock their dogs up outside are sociopaths. I hate families who do that. And I also similarly dislike when people have a dog and don't let it on the furniture. Like, oh, do you also not let your kids on the furniture? Like, they're a member of the family. Let them be comfortable, man.
Okay, all of these points are true, but I will say in Mama K's defense, this is not her dog. This is a dog that roamed off of the street and her dumbass kid just picked up and
Doesn't
stuffed
matter.
in a gym
Doesn't
bag.
matter. Someone brings a dog home and you're like, oh, it
Finders
smells. And it's like,
keepers.
not even, but it's like, even if you're going to take it to the Humane Society or if you're going to take it to a vet or some kind of safe surrender
Yeah.
situation, like until that point, because clearly you're not doing anything about it tonight because you're a negligent parent who's not interested in solving any kind of problems that are presented to you, like give it a little bath and let the dog
Yes.
come inside. Like
You hit the nail on the
literally-
head. Like, she just doesn't want to deal with anything.
No,
She
'cause
doesn't want to deal with.
She's too busy talking about Jerry.
Ugh.
Mm.
She isn't interested in where he got this dog. She never asks him that, or what
No,
the plan for the
she-
dog is. So it's just sort of like, what the
I mean,
fuck?
This kid is
She's not like, did
so-
your dad let you get a dog? She's just like, a dog's here.
Mom!
Arthur is so clearly clinging to this dog because everything around him is falling apart. And you would think that as the adult in the situation, Mama K would be able to identify that behavior because it's very kind of
Mhm.
like
Pretty
obvious.
clear.
Perhaps taking care of the dog in the way that he wishes someone were taking care of him.
Oh,
Huh? What?
Are you going to banish Arthur outside too?
she doesn't let Arthur on the furniture either.
Arthur tries to like protest by telling his mom that Phil will get lonely and that he doesn't like the leaves because they get stuck in his fur and he doesn't like the wind.
Is he just making this shit up off the top of his head?
He's just like, please don't send this dog outside. It's too sad.
don't
There's
think it's-
leaves and wind.
I don't think it's the dog that will get lonely.
what?
It is the kid with no support system.
Exactly. Also,
Well.
I feel like later they have a fenced-in backyard, don't they? I'm like, why did they tie the dog? Don't tie a dog to a tree. Like, what?
Right?
Bad
Psychotic.
dog interaction. Yeah. We don't support this. All right. Family dinner time. Round 1.
Ooh, I've got a
So-
lot of opinions coming up. Sorry, y'all. I'm the only one
All
here
right,
with
so-
divorced parents.
We cut to Steph pushing food around her plate while Arthur compliments the lasagna and asks for seconds.
So wholesome.
His mom
This
says,
is great, Mom.
little try hard.
I know lasagna is your favorite. I'm sure your father never makes it for you.
Actually, he does. He cooks a lot now. But this is good. Better even.
Oh, God, buddy.
This poor kid.
The look on his face is
trying
like he's
so
being
hard.
forced to say this stuff, but it's his own fucking brain like making him do it.
It's such
oh,
divorced
God.
parent shit. Like, here's the thing: is
Ugh.
like when my parents were getting divorced, my mom was not only on like a smear campaign to make sure I hated my dad, who I already hated. Like, I didn't need encouragement. And for like, just for context, for anyone listening who's not you guys, my dad and I have not spoken since 2009. So like, I didn't need my mom to tell me that like he's a bad guy. But like, she spent just like years just bad mouthing my dad, and then she would be like, but he is your father, so you should spend time with him. And I'm like, what?
Oh, nice.
But but it forces you in a position where like you feel like you have to defend a parent who you don't even like. And if you or if you do like them, then you have to kind of take care of the other parent. Like, all of a sudden you're kind of like handling their feelings with kid gloves a little bit and be like,
Mhm.
oh no, but I also love you. Like,
you
it's-
don't want to take sides.
Yeah, and it's like, well, he lives with one of you full time. Like, I just don't think this is appropriate at all. But yeah, I mean, they're really hammering it home here that like Mama K is not good at being divorced. But
No, because she's
It's a-
also implying that he's not being cared for, that his dad
Yeah,
isn't even like
that's-
feeding him,
yeah,
which makes him like must make him feel terrible. Like, you're being mistreated. Like, that's a really, like, disturbing thing to say to your
Must
child.
be confusing.
Yeah, and it's confusing because Arthur loves his dad. He gets along with his dad. He likes living with him. And he's so sweet. And he's just, put in this impossible position where he's trying to please everybody. And, but he can't please everybody. Like, there's no way to do that.
But as this scene goes on, and actually as the rest of the episode goes on, you can see that like his mom is really gaslighting him here because she's telling him like, no, you're in a bad living situation. This is bad. This is the place you need to be. You shouldn't be there. That's not good for you. And he's kind of like, but I like it. Why shouldn't I be there? You know what I mean? He's like, this affects me. Like no one's asking him like, are you enjoying being there? And she doesn't have like a normal follow-up question, be like, oh, he's cooking more. That's great. What kind of stuff does he make? Like, something.
Yes.
To like bounce off of that and
take an interest in his life outside of your home. That's totally fine to be like, what kinds of things do you do at your dad's house? Like, that's a normal, like, getting to know your child question, but just presuming that like it's all bad is just like making him feel like, am I in a bad situation? But this situation feels bad. So are both of these situations bad? Like, yeah, it is totally gaslighting. Like, he can't trust his own impression of his dad. And he's doing fine at his dad's house.
The impression that we're getting here is that, like, everything's okay. And Arthur's just continually being invalidated. And so is Stephanie. Stephanie's opinions are being treated as, like, she's a brat, she's rude, like, even here, like, she and Mama Kay are like arguing.
So let's get into so Stephanie and her mom start arguing over the lasagna before Arthur interrupts to ask why he was invited over for dinner.
Total little hero diffusing this fight, by the way, yet again.
Yeah. Mama Kay wants to know what the kids would think if she and Jerry got married, and then she trashes their dad.
But I live with Dad.
Your father has no idea how to take care of a child.
So, and she is a single she's currently a single parent, but then she's disparaging single parent homes, saying that the only proper normal home is a 2-parent home. And that because she could provide them that with this person who literally Arthur hasn't even met yet, that's the superior option.
Seriously.
Just because.
I mean, hard relate here again. My mom dated a man for 3 months before marrying him, or before getting engaged. They got married 2 months after that, which was a terrible plan. They met on the internet, and I did not meet him before, he lived in another country. This is it's like the great catfishing romance of the early 2000s, but
early 2000s internet dating, that was its own thing. It's gotta be
so rough. And I didn't meet this man until my mom was engaged to him, and he was coming to stay with us for 3 weeks or something, and I was just like, ugh. And I think that just like Mama Kay, just very negligent, really only caring about her own happiness, and Mama Kay doesn't care about how her kids feel about this. She says what would you think if we were to get married or something like that. But then immediately, instead of bracing herself for the reaction that would be very normal from a couple of younger kids, she just kind of bulldozes any kind of conversation. Stephanie, I think very rightly says you've only known him for 2 months. And she's like, you don't need a lot of time to know what's right. And I'm just thinking okay, so if Stephanie comes home after 2 months and says she's getting married, are you supporting that? Because I don't think so.
Right.
But, it just feels like she's placing all of the responsibility on these kids to be nice instead of, placing a responsibility on herself to create a roadmap to this family structure that she wants to have.
Right.
Or to anticipate anyone's needs or responses that would be completely normal.
Yes.
And now Arthur is meeting Jerry with this in the context of, this is going to be your stepdad, we're getting married, instead of meeting him in a neutral way, maybe going out to a movie, going out to the park, going out to do something that's less weighted. And you're right, she's putting a lot of pressure on them to just accept this and be
Yeah.
really nice and polite about it and kind of like to not ruin this for her.
Yeah, she's
But
putting
she's
all of her
not giving them the
needs-
chance to actually have an honest reaction.
Exactly. It's infuriating to watch it play out.
Yeah.
Because I also I don't know if the writers intended for it to be like, this is a bad parenting situation. Like, I don't know if they were just like, this is normal, or if they're like,
Oh, no, it feels like it to me that,
Okay.
like, I mean, it's consistent with how shitty of a parent Mama K is.
I think it's supposed to be like how parents can get wrapped up in their own lives at the expense of their kids. So I think it's supposed to be like not like we're supposed to feel a certain way, but like this is what can happen when, you know, a parent has
Yeah.
their own stuff
I mean,
going on.
in that way, it does feel like a real depiction. Maybe not like that
Mhm.
they're trying to present it positively or negatively, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
mm,
Yeah.
mhm. Just
Yeah.
like, this is a way that it happens.
This is
Yeah, and
a
it sounds
situation.
like it is a way that it like happens for people.
For
Yeah.
people like me.
Yeah.
We're really unpacking the trauma today.
I think it's good to have your perspective as an adult having gone through this, because we're seeing it portrayed through like the way that the kids are experiencing it. But I think it's really valuable to hear like how you process that as a kid, and then also how you like think about it now. So I appreciate you sharing that. The next morning before school, Steph is still in bed when her mom calls up the stairs to her. Mama K sets up our big showdown. Arthur and Jerry will meet face to face at dinner tonight. Steph goes back to staring off, but stay tuned. This will be a dinner you won't want to miss.
To defend Stephanie here for a moment.
Yeah.
It feels like her mom just doesn't have a single conversation with her that doesn't mention Jerry. Like,
yes, I think that's why Steph is always like Jerry, because you're right. She's constantly like talking about Jerry.
Her mom knows that she's super unstable and doesn't even bother to check in on her. Like, to at the least make sure that she's getting ready for school.
Right.
No.
Or maybe she
and then,
should take her to school.
And then she's got the stones to claim that her household would be more stable for 2 children. I hate you, Mama K.
Like, she's either trashing their dad or she's gushing about her boyfriend, and there is like nothing else that she talks about. She never, like, have we seen her be like, how are you? How was your day? Like,
Arthur brought a literal dog home and she didn't ask him anything about it.
She's so self-absorbed. I mean, and yeah, we will get to more of this like later, because when Arthur tells her that like school got out early, she asks no follow-up questions.
Hell no.
She's not concerned.
This is the woman who's called Stephanie a tramp, so I still have it out for Mama K. But I love that Steph takes an unsanctioned mental health day out of this. Just like turning those lemons into lemonade.
Yeah. She deserves it. I'm not sure how much it helps her, but she does deserve the day
Fuck
off.
it.
Yeah. And my one additional note was Mama K just booked Jerry and Arthur for dinner tonight with possible interference from Stephanie K. Okay. But first, Arthur updates Yick on the family sitch before school the next day. Arthur continues to be nervous, especially about dinner tonight.
This conversation reminds me of me trying to tell any friend about my family situations.
I also thought about you.
Yick is just trying to wrap his head around this insane bullshit. He's doing his best, and I'm familiar with that reaction of someone doing their best.
Yeah, he's trying. He, like Radich, is trying. Phil barks because he is once again inside of a gym bag.
And continues to be a dog.
Arthur did not get around to asking his mom if Phil could stay there, which, of course, because he wasn't even allowed in the house. So he brought him to school again with a plan to hide him in the boiler room.
Foolproof.
Boiler room. I also want to note really quick that we now with Yik have our second polo under a t-shirt of the episode.
Strong look.
Oh yeah,
Love it.
there's a lot of that going around.
Yeah, we'll get one more soon.
Yeah. Yik is, like we were saying, Yik is possibly asking too many questions because he's just like, so he'll be your stepdad? Is your mom really going to make you live with them? He's just kind of like, which are all the things Arthur's probably thinking about, but I think it's kind of stressing Arthur out a little bit because he's just like, I don't know.
Aw, he's doing his best.
Yeah, but he's
Buddy.
really trying. I think those are all of his fears, and he's like really like concerned for his friend. It's so nice to see. I'm glad that they've stopped bullying people for an episode and are just being friends. All right. So in Raditch's class, the camera pans to show Stephanie's empty desk. The twins wonder where Steph is.
One
Heather-
twin wonders where Steph
Well,
is.
I was going to say Heather is worried, but Erica thinks she's just sick. You're totally right. It's like the angel and the devil, and it's just to like, I don't even know. It honestly feels like lazy writing.
It's extremely drastic in this scene because it's just like, this is your friend who was just talking about self-harm yesterday and they're not in class today? Really?
Yeah.
Nothing?
No.
Huh.
I'm sure she's
Okay.
just coincidentally sick.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But Steph is skipping school to check out the bridge in person.
Self-care queen.
So she walks past graffiti that reads, "Your image is you," while Raditch reads to the class from Shakespeare's Sonnet 29 in voiceover narration. And just a little note here, according to Shakespeare-online.com, Sonnet 29 shows the poet at his most insecure and troubled. He feels unlucky, shamed, and fiercely jealous of those around him. Sound like anyone we know?
Hmm.
All right. So Arthur and Yik head to the boiler room to check on Phil. Yik finally suggests giving Phil to the Humane Society, which no one else has recommended yet.
Jesus.
But Arthur thinks he can take care of him by himself. However, he is immediately proven wrong when they discover that Phil, like Amadeus before him, is missing. But not for long, because a hot blonde janitor hears them calling for Phil and comes out holding him. She tells them dogs are not allowed in school and sends them all to Mr. Lawrence's office.
Like, no
Nice.
shit, lady.
She doesn't, it's not her job to interact with these dumbass kids. She's just like, get lost.
I love
She
her.
clearly had things to do. Yeah,
Can't you read the sign? No students allowed.
she's going to add plus dogs.
No dogs.
You do make a really good point. Like, if Arthur's mom wanted him to not keep the dog, it's really her responsibility as an adult to probably take him to the Humane Society with this dog, as opposed, like, what does she think he's going to do? Like, just like go to the park and just like let him off the leash and he's just gonna frolic away and no
Yeah.
one will ever see him again?
And as if Arthur wouldn't be concerned about him in that scenario.
The dog is just this amazing part of this episode where like the way it interacts with like Arthur's emotions and like we're saying the way that it really calls out just like how useless Mama Kay is. She can't even like manage this pretty obvious situation that they're then showing a literal child being like, why don't you take it to the Humane Society or shelter or whatever.
Right. And does Arthur need to figure out how to do that himself? Like, that's clearly something an adult should step in and like handle.
He doesn't have Google. What's he supposed to do?
Yeah. Like, he knows where that is and he can just walk there. Like, we don't know that.
No.
Toronto, as we've discussed many times, is a very large city.
I also feel like Phil is an emotional support dog ahead of his time.
Sure. Yeah.
We salute you, Phil.
So we cut to Arthur leaving Mr. Lawrence's office again, as Mr. Lawrence tells him to get that dog off of school property immediately or he'll make it 2 weeks detention. Yik can't believe that Arthur gets to go home early to drop Phil off and goes in for his own meeting with Principal Lawrence. Arthur and Phil head to the park so that Arthur can think.
Yik mentions that he gets detention all the time, by the way. Can we get
Yeah.
any more story on that?
I was like,
This
why?
concerned me.
Yik.
Maybe
buddy.
for not doing his work.
Maybe
that
for
was my
fucking
thought.
bullying Scooter.
Possibly.
Okay, well, he deserves that.
Yeah.
I just have a feeling that they don't really punish bullying at this school, though, at this time.
Ever.
Or ever.
Yeah, that's wishful thinking.
Dude,
on my
all the way
part.
to next class, I'm going to be like, where are the grown-ups?
A central theme.
They get to the park, and Steph is also at the park, apathetically swinging back and forth alone on a swing set. When Arthur
And this is where she is my look of the week.
Oh!
I know we already saw Steph wearing this outfit, gray t-shirt, black skirt, cool boots. But this scene specifically just screams like Smashing Pumpkins video to me, and I'm all about it. It's just like her skirt just like trailing like a black storm cloud. Absolutely. I love all of it. I would 1000% wear this outfit. So good.
I love it so much. She's got like a grunge just vibe. I don't know.
It's-
She looks great.
It's like department store goth, which is exactly what I was until like the age of 18. I didn't know how to like put together real goth fashion. I was just like, I don't know. It's a gray shirt I found and like some black.
Your
What?
local
I don't
mall
have any-
didn't have a Hot Topic?
I didn't have any money. What?
We
No,
had
that
free
shit.
Hot Topics.
Shit at Hot Topics started at like $50. Like, no, I'm
Dad, you
I'm not
gotta
gonna ask.
nicely.
Well, I'm a real goth, and I'm not gonna ask my mom for money to buy goth stuff. So yeah, you get it where you can.
Yes. Arthur spots her there and asks what she's doing there. She tells him she didn't feel like going to school, and he tells her that their mom is going to be mad, but Stephanie doesn't think she cares, and that she wouldn't even care if she died. Arthur disagrees, and she changes the subject to ask what he's doing there. Arthur changes the subject again to ask if he'll like Jerry and if he'll have to call him Dad. Steph gets stressed out by his questions and tells him to leave her alone because she's got her own problems. Arthur tells her he would help her if he could, and he leaves with Phil.
Hell yeah, Arthur.
Cuts a very short but good promo.
Yeah,
True.
bye, loser.
True.
I feel like when he's like, "Oh, mom's gonna be mad," and she's like, "She's not gonna care." That's a very very strong observation.
Yeah.
The second part of it, not so much, but you know,
Nailed it there.
yeah, it's very foreshadowing.
So, tonight's the night, and Jerry is already making himself comfortable at the K household in anticipation of family dinner.
Oh, he is anticipating some shit, all right, like her sexy wedding dress.
Oh,
Good for him.
Yeah.
yeah. What is he trying to get her to get? Something that's like more low cut? Was that
Low cut. He says something like, you should get a low cut wedding dress," and they're both like giggling about it.
Well, that was weird, Jerry.
Come on,
Ah,
hey,
Jerry.
Hey.
I want you to look really sexy at our wedding.
in front of your
Yeah.
In
kids?
front of your children.
Eh.
We'll find a role. We'll put them in the bridal party.
Clearly, no one gives a fuck about these children, so Jerry should not be the first.
Yeah, maybe Mama Kay's making Jerry wait until the wedding.
Oh,
Buddy.
She would.
Oh.
He's got a pamphlet ready.
What to expect on your second wedding night?
And one more quick note about clothes, like one more quick note about like pointless clothing choices in this episode. We get our third polo under a shirt look this week. Love a good trifecta. Good job,
Yes,
Degrassi.
everyone's kind of twinning this week.
Can I just say that when Arthur comes through the door, Mama Kay springs into action like she's a teenager being caught doing something wrong.
I know,
she-
you're just like
Yeah.
sitting on the couch talking.
Like they scatter like a swarm of insects. It's very bad.
It is funny. So Arthur shows up with Phil, and his mom banishes him to the yard again, but cool guy Jerry intervenes and shakes Arthur's hand and pets Phil.
Chill.
Jerry asks Arthur if they've got a hose, and they make a plan to wash Phil in the backyard. And then new dad suggests that he and Arthur go to a baseball game sometime.
Wait, so I'm
Okay.
sorry. Did you mention that they ask why Arthur's there and he lies and said that?
No, I didn't mention it.
So I love that because his lie that like school got out early totally gets Steph off the hook for skipping school when she walks in a minute later because they don't even think to ask her. They're just like, oh, school got out early. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, why did school get out early?
No one's interested. Like, is that a normal thing for school to just end a couple hours early?
Principal Lawrence died.
That's fine. And then, listen, man, not to belabor the point here, but like, Phil is a small dog. You do not need to take him out and hose him down like you're power washing the deck. He's like a little puppy. Like, just put him in the bath. This is a hill I'm willing to die on. I'm so angry.
Jerry's-
And then Arthur's like, oh, the water is cold. And Phil's like, oh, he can take a little cold water. And I'm just like, sir, you do not
Yeah.
even know what kind of dog this is. Like, my dog can handle cold water because he has a thick undercoat, because he is a lab cross. But like this little fucking, I don't even know, like a shredded wheat dog. Like, we don't know his fragile constitution.
Look, Jerry's got his eyes on the prize. He's waiting for that post-wedding night coitus, and he knows that Mama Kay does not want this dog in the house. He's still trying to be chill about it, so we got the best of both worlds here. He's just like, let's take it up back.
We'll
And then
wash
they
him
can
out
have a
back,
little, like-
and then we can bring him in.
A little one-on-one time to chat with something to do together. Look, yet again, I'm defending some of this stuff with the dog,
No.
even though I know it's not technically correct.
Oh
Yeah,
there's more.
Jerry's got a lot of dog advice.
Yeah, and it's not good because then, like, knowing nothing about dogs, he's telling Arthur that dry kibble is the best kind of food for dogs because it's the cheapest. And I'm
But
just
then
like,
Arthur later says that it's expensive
Well,
when
for
he's
a
talking
kid,
to Phil.
for a
Yeah, I guess
12-year-old kid, absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Like a baseball card is expensive for a kid on an allowance in like 1987.
The other thing is when he suggests that they go to a baseball game, Arthur says, I usually do that with my dad.
Oh, he sounds so sad when he says that.
It's really sad.
poor little guy.
And in his head, you know, he's just like, "Oh God, do I have to call you dad?"
Do I have to choose which dad to go to baseball games with?
Well, yeah. And Mama Kay's gonna be like, "Oh, why don't you go with Jerry? He's got better seats."
Yeah, his office has seats, I think he mentions.
So they probably are
season
better.
tickets.
Yeah, he says. But maybe Arthur likes sitting in the nosebleeds with his dad.
Jerry.
You got to be behind the dugout.
Okay, so when Steph comes in, can I
Yes,
just
she comes
say,
home next. Yeah.
So can I just say she comes home and Mama Kay asks if she can help her with dinner. Like, I would like to break this down for a sec here because school should be getting out at like 3. They're home before the end of the day. So it's probably like 1 or 2 p.m. What the fuck are they cooking? Like some fucking ossobuco or some shit because like why does it need to braise? Like why are they starting dinner at like 2 p.m.? I'm so infuriated.
Look, this
by
event was
everything.
booked as dinner, so now that everyone's arrived, it's dinner time.
Dinner's at 3:30.
And then some shuffleboard, maybe a bit of mahjong.
And then Matlock at 8.
And
then
we'll
it's time
bond
for
as a
bed.
Family.
Oh, maybe they'll play some Trivial Pursuit as a family.
Uh,
And yeah, the asking to help with dinner is maybe just because Mama Kay thinks they should talk, but Stephanie like shuts her down. It's like Jerry and Arthur are right outside. This is the time that you think you should have like a real serious conversation.
Absolutely not.
So Jerry, Arthur, and Phil come back inside post hose bath, and Jerry says hi to Steph, who ignores him. He tells Mama Kay they'll have to get a new hose, and Steph cannot believe the audacity of saying we.
I mean, he doesn't fucking live there.
It's true. She's totally justified, and she is done being polite to Jerry.
Like, Jerry seems perfectly nice, but like it does feel like Jerry on Parks and Rec, where everyone's just like, shut up, Jerry. Like, he's not doing anything that's like wrong. He's doing a decent job of trying to like move conversation along and like give advice.
He tries to return to the safe topic of dogs.
No, Arthur, I had a dog once. His name was Ruff. And every time
Who cares?
I was dying.
This is a very stupid name.
I also was like, that is not a good dog name.
Listen, as a child of divorce, I'm just gonna say I've probably said way meaner stuff to my mom's boyfriends, and like I support it. Negging someone who wants to be your new daddy is absolutely supported here on I'm Sorry, Okay?
In Jerry's defense, he doesn't like argue back he just kind of takes the heat from Stephanie, and he's honestly like more reasonable about it than Mama Kay is. Like, he seems more he's like totally unfazed that she doesn't acknowledge him, that she's like being rude to him, because he's probably like, yeah, I'm just like inserting myself into their lives, like.
But Mama Kay is mad. Isn't she like, I've had enough of you, or something like that? Like, or that's enough from you. Or she says something that I'm just like, okay. And then she like apologizes. Doesn't she apologize to Jerry, or is that later? She like at some point is like, I'm sorry about this.
Yeah, at some point, like, so I think, okay, so Steph starts arguing with her mom and again threatens to kill herself in front of everybody this time.
No one cares.
Arthur defends her and says this is really hard on the two of them, but Steph tells him to stay out of it, and then she and Mama Kay continue fighting until Arthur and Phil kind of run away. But I think it's during this argument with both, because Arthur's also in it, that's when she just turns to Jerry and she's just like, I'm so sorry about all of this. Like, they're inconveniencing Jerry.
I also love that Arthur drops some truth bombs here, because she's like, stay out of it. And he's just like, why should I? It's my problem too. You don't have to change your bedroom. You don't have to move. And it's kind of the first time that he's really asserting himself and being like, this sucks for me and nobody cares.
Yeah. And I think when we get to like the next scene, I think that Steph finally hears him like during this fight. She doesn't respond like right now, but you're totally right. Like, no one has actually thought about how Arthur feels.
Like, instead of apologizing to Jerry for like what the disruption to early bird dinner, why don't we apologize to the kids for all of these really sudden changes that no one's consulted them about?
Yeah, like, I'm sorry, maybe it was too soon for this dinner with Jerry, and we should reschedule to another time.
And maybe do an activity instead of all being in like the family home. Because I think
like we're a family.
Because the other thing is, like, I don't know where Arthur's dad or where their dad lives, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that that house is the house that they grew up in and their dad moved out. And so it's also basically just like, oh, one dad is gone. We're bringing a new man in. We're putting him down in here. Yeah. So I hope you're okay with it.
And Mama Kay also keeps bringing up Jerry as if anyone cares about his feelings. She's like, well, how do you think that makes Jerry feel? Like, what? Literally no one cares about how Jerry feels. I'm sorry, Jerry. Like, yes, he's perfectly nice, but it's like, why would they care about this man they don't even know?
I mean, she's guilting Steph and being like, don't I deserve to be happy? And it's kind of like, yes, you do, but also no, not at the expense of like your young children. You know what I mean? Like, of course she deserves to be happy and have someone that she loves, but also like there's no need to rush into moving this man into the house. There's no need to rush into marriage. Like, she deserves to be happy. And if he really does make her happy, then he will understand that this needs to be a gradual introduction into a new life.
Also, shouldn't part of your happiness as a parent be derived from your children being stable and not wanting to self-harm or constantly say they want to kill themselves? Shouldn't that make you happy too?
Yes.
Well, when Steph says,
okay.
I'm going to kill myself, all Mama K says is, don't say that.
Yeah,
That's
like,
it.
okay, so
That's
that has nothing.
Such a mom reaction.
The way your fucking child is reacting has nothing to do with your happiness. I hate you, Mama K.
Yeah, she's got some real go away heat in this
Oh, yeah.
episode.
And,
Big time.
No one's even noticed that Arthur has left with the dog. Like, he's just gone. And then, Mama K's just like, don't I deserve to be happy? Doesn't your brother? And then they realize he's not even there. Like, just asking for a friend, but is this the better living situation she's referring to?
Bingo.
I mean, Jerry
Christ.
seems like very unfazed by all of this. Like, he's just sitting there very patiently, very politely. Like,
I don't know, Jerry's kind of chill.
yeah, Jerry is chill.
Again, there's nothing wrong with Jerry himself. It's just the way he's being introduced.
It's the
to
concept
this,
of Jerry.
Dynamic. Yes. Yeah, and so when they do finally notice that Arthur and Phil are gone, Jerry offers to go after them, but Steph says that she'll find them.
Hell yeah.
Fair enough. It should be her, and not the stranger that he just met like 10 minutes ago. Okay, so back at the park. So now Arthur and Phil are swinging on the sad swing at the park, talking about running away. Steph finds them, and this time Arthur tells her to go away and leave him alone, but she apologizes, and she finally acknowledges that this situation is even worse for him. Arthur's worried that he'll have to give Phil away, but Steph says they'll talk to their mom together, and we end with a freeze frame on the three of them.
Having not acknowledged that she has mentioned self-harm multiple times.
Well,
It's like very prominent in this episode for being completely unaddressed and kind of unresolved.
I don't really remember the rest of this season, but I don't think it does get resolved. And then she's
so
gone
it's
next season. In real life, apparently, I think like her agent or something told her that she should like broaden her horizons and try and find other acting jobs. So she left Degrassi while she was kind of at the height of her popularity. And
classic Stephanie move.
yeah, kind of a Stephanie K move. And then she didn't get any other gigs.
Dang.
Well,
Yeah, I feel like this episode didn't really know whether we should take Stephanie's, like behavior seriously or not. They kind of like no one in the episode really takes it seriously, and then the episode itself doesn't really. So I feel like they included a really serious topic, but then it seemed like they didn't really know what to do with it.
Yep. I don't love it.
Can't relate.
I related to Arthur in this episode. My sisters were pretty consistently acting out when I was growing up, and I felt like there were some similarities with how Arthur handled his situation and how I handled my situation, which was obviously minus the divorce and unfortunately minus the dog. But yeah, I was always trying to be extra nice, or extra accommodating to help situations seem better as a way of coping with family drama. I can't really say I have any regrets, so hopefully things work out for Arthur too.
For all the reasons already stated many, many times, I related to Arthur. But also just to add, I too was the voice of reason when people in my household were fighting. I had two older brothers. They were constantly fighting with each other. Both of them had like quote unquote behavioral issues. And I also often slipped away with the family dog to a quiet place because I found it all very stressful. And it was great. I hung out a lot with dogs.
Cute.
Yeah.
I was very much sad girl Steph and also related to anxious Arthur. I was like really a combination of the two. Like I was very like sad and mopey, but then also kind of like peacemaker, trying to like make everyone happy, resolve things kind of thing. So yeah, little sad anxious combo there.
Ooh.
So, friends, what did we learn today?
I learned that it's important to do your best to keep your head out of your own ass, to make sure others around you aren't dealing with stuff that they can't handle on their own.
Today, we learned that you shouldn't ignore the signs when someone close to you is struggling. From her mom to her friends, somehow the only person in Stephanie's life who took the time to offer tangible support was somehow Mr. Radich. And when Mr. Radich is the person showing up for you, you are well and truly fucked. The twins noticed her change in behavior, but they didn't know what to do. Her mom was so wrapped up in her love life that she only responded to Stephanie acting out instead of addressing the root problem. And you can't force someone to talk to you, but if someone in your life is talking about hurting themselves, it's important that they know that you're there for them and that you'll listen and not just tell them not to say that or that's not funny.
Yeah. And we also learned how not to co-parent with your former spouse. Mama Kay disparages her children's father in front of them and pressures them to accept a new father figure to accommodate her own desires. Her children both act out, Stephanie through her change in mood and literal cries for help, and Arthur as he feels forced to play peacemaker and goes out to find a dog to love and project his feelings onto because he doesn't know how to handle what's happening to his family. While their mom asks how they would feel if she married Jerry, she doesn't really want to know the answer, and their dad is a non-presence, discussed but never seen. In the end, they realize that they have to be there for each other because only they can understand what they're both going through.
You can listen to I'm Sorry, Okay, a Degrassi podcast on Acast, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you enjoy what we're doing here at I'm Sorry, Okay, be sure to give us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts.
Thanks for listening. You can follow us on social media at I'm Sorry Okay Pod, OK is spelled OKAY, and email us at I'mSorryOKPod@gmail.com. That's it for Dog Days. Next week we'll be watching Censored. And if you're in crisis, there are options available to help you cope. You can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at any time to speak with someone and get support. For confidential support available 24/7 for everyone in the U.S., call 1-800-273-8255 or visit suicidepreventionlifeline.org.